fight isn't over. The fight is just beginning.
Seems like the bike is back. Yeah, it's got all the power back. Wow. No hesitation, right off idle. Holy smokes. This is a different bike. And it's never run better. I think once this thing warms up, I did test it around my house a little bit, and I'm no mechanic. I haven't worked on things a lot, but I can figure things out pretty well. I'm pretty good at winging it. Took the carburetor off of this, did a complete rebuild, put it back together, and it completely transformed the bike. I actually asked the question online what people were thinking was wrong with this bike. I got a lot of, well, I know what it's not. So I know it's not an electrical issue. A lot of people were saying that was an electrical issue. It definitely wasn't that. I knew it was air and fuel, probably carburetor, but possibly something else. So I asked the question online, and somebody had mentioned the jet block gasket, which is bad from the factory on this bike. So replace that, and it's right when you hit the gas. Right, I'm getting power right away. Like, right away I'm getting power. I haven't had that since I bought the bike, pretty much. That's where I control a lot of my fine movements. And like when you need to get your front end up over something, like very, very nice to have that power right there. I haven't had it for a long time. It's pretty nice. Like I said, I'm no professional, I'm no mechanic. My knowledge is fairly limited when it comes to that stuff. But that goes for most people on YouTube, to be honest with you guys. You shouldn't idolize those guys. I'm just a human, and so are they. But my knowledge of carburetors, from what I understand, I have a pretty good understanding of how the bike works, just generally speaking. And that really starts at the air filter. That's where the air is getting sucked into your bike, into your air box, past your air box, and the air filter into the carburetor, and the gas tank is feeding your carburetor with fuel at the same time, and your jets are essentially sucking in fuel at different rates. Different jets are responsible for different things, different parts of your power, and your needle in there is responsible for a lot of your power, your mid and top end power, because it's controlled directly by your throttle cable. So when you give it gas, you're essentially moving that needle up and down. And there's a bunch of deer. Anyways, your carburetor is a huge part of your bike, obviously. It's allowing airflow in, as well as a good mixture of air and gasoline. A lot of it is still black magic to me. I don't understand carburetors fully. I don't understand how the air mixture works entirely. I have a pretty good idea. I mean, I can use the air screw and adjust a carburetor okay, but I still don't have a great idea of how everything works inside the carburetor. But after it goes through the carburetor, then you have reed valves, and they are open and closed and then straight into the engine. And when your carburetor allows the perfect mix of air and fuel into that combustion chamber, it combusts it, it explodes it using the spark plug, and the piston comes up and compresses all of that stuff. It explodes and rockets the piston out of the way. There's an exhaust port. All of that gas goes out the exhaust port, and coming back into, when the piston comes back up, it compresses it again, and it repeats that cycle. And so your exhaust is obviously all the unburnt stuff coming out the back. And on a two-stroke, you have an expansion chamber, which causes a sonic wave. I used to think it was a cyclone or something from the air, but it actually has to do with the sound. It creates a turbo-like effect on a two-stroke. Kind of cool. But so I understand the basic workings. And I can work on stuff pretty okay. But all I'm saying is, I'm not the guy who can really like troubleshoot all of your issues. Look at that. Right off idle power. So much so that it brings the front end up. I haven't seen that on this bike for a long time. But I've had carburetor issues even with my 64 Chevrolet, trying to figure that thing out. And my dad had showed me that there's a fuel filter on the carburetor itself. And it's a bit redundant considering there's two more prior to that. One on the control unit, is that what that's called? I can't. When I'm writing, I can never think of the right words, but the sending unit, that's what it's called. There's one on the sending unit, and then there's an inline fuel filter as well. So anyway, there was one attached to the actual carburetor. We opened that thing up and it was all mushy and like clearly causing some problems. So hopefully my fuel problem with that truck has been diagnosed and resolved. If you guys are having trouble with your stock Mikuni carburetor, then don't be afraid to rip it off of there. If I can do it, you can do it. And just get one of those carburetor rebuild kits. And don't forget the jack block gasket from somebody like Slavens Racing. Put that in there. And voila, you have a perfectly running bike again. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, this thing has no hesitation now. And as far as this off idle power, it's completely transformed. But right when I give it throttle, there's no there's just I could just let it out and hop the front end up. That's how it should act right there. Very, very nice. This 2018 Husqvarna TE250, man, it has been my favorite bike of all time. Just an amazing bike. And I remember when this thing was brand new, I could let the clutch out, and it did act right. It actually did. So it hasn't been like that since new, although that one guy said it was an issue from the factory. But it when I replaced that jet block gasket, it revived it and made it act like it used to when I first got the bike, for that first year, it ran amazing right off idle. Man, it's been a long time since it's run like this. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
Alright guys, I just wanted to thank my Patreon supporters. That would be Lance Darnell, Jim Jolson Jr., Kurt Kinghorn, Daniel Roush, Brian Thomason, Wade James, Moto Creek, Nathan Young, Jason Froling. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you.